What is up, Honey Badger Nation? This is John Kitchens, and welcome to episode 179 of Expert Mentors Live. And I've got Mr. Andre LaFountain on with us. What's up, Andre? How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be on here with you today, John.
Yeah, well, welcome back. And, I get asked often, hey, what's some good content to help me kind of get my bearings and kind of build my structure for my agent attraction efforts? And I'm like, well, I can think of 4 videos in Expert Mentors series that will be perfect for your agent attraction efforts. And yours is one of them. And so it is definitely the previous Expert Mentors that we did was really, in my opinion, foundational to the daily disciplines that are required to do anything significant, to build anything. And I'm sure you'll touch on some of those pieces today,
right?
But it's definitely a great reference point to be able to go back to and to be able to really help understand that function that it takes to build anything significant. So good to have you back.
Yeah, glad to be back and be able to share and help in any way that I can, for sure.
Yeah, so I know it's been over a year since we had you on, and man, a lot has changed in a relatively short period of time. And I would love for you to kind of unpack over the last 12, 18 months that just the significance that have changed. And obviously you've been on this journey for a little over 3 years total,
right.
And so being able to see the outcome for the consistency that you bring to everything you do, I think is there's definitely a lot of lessons to be learned.
Well, I appreciate that. A lot has changed as far as our business growing, our income growing, and just the relationships that are growing. So that's been pretty fantastic. The foundational things that we've done to get there hasn't really changed much at all. We're still doing the same things. We're just being consistent, doing the same things that we were doing, originally to get the ball rolling. The fun part is once you get that ball up that hill and you get it over that hill and you get some momentum, you can't stop it. But it's always been consistency. I mean, I think, we shared in the first interview that, our goal is just the 2-10-40, right? Call 2 people a day that you have a conversation with, get them to agree to get on a Zoom or to watch a video or meet face to face. And you keep calling people until you get your 2 appointments every day, 5 days a week. And by Friday, if you didn't have your 10, I was working Saturday, half day Saturday to try to get that. Now life happens and it doesn't always happen that way, but sometimes it's 6 or 8, but the goal is 10 and you can get close to that. Long term, it's going to be a game changer. I believe consistency over time is how we win, right? That's how you build wealth. That's how you build anything, especially a business, right?
Yeah.
I grew up with some tough parents who worked 2 full-time jobs, an 8-hour a day job at their blue collar job, and then came home, had supper, and then worked, like a home-based business. Or my father would go out and do handiwork for people till 8-9 o'clock at night. I watched him do that for all my life, and they drilled in me that, when you show up and we grow up and we deliver, we don't whine, we don't complain, we don't make excuses. Right. And I think, work ethic is missing in the United States today, right? There's no shortage of jobs. There's just a shortage of people who want those jobs. There's no shortage of money. There's just a shortage of courage, of people who want to go out there and put the time and effort into to earn that income. Yeah. And because of that belief, that's why the consistency just has never left. And it's long term, right? You got to look at a 5-year goal when you look at this. I know so many people that have so much potential And they come off out of the gates, boy. I mean, they come out of the gates and we're on calls with them doing 3-ways and Zooms, for a few weeks, a month, 2 at the most, and then they fizzle and they get some traction, but they fizzle off, and I don't see from them again. But I know for me, and I know like James Massey, if you talk to Jay, he'll say, who was in his schedule more than anybody, and it was James, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, he counted how many they were, yeah. And I think if you ask Al that question with the first couple of years, it probably would be me because I was in it all the time. Right. And the great part was for those first 2 years, I was working full time, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 as an inside sales agent, right? First 6 months for a friend in Tennessee and for a year and a half with Jay and Al. So I was working full time for them. And you can compare that to anybody that's working full time selling houses or, whatever they're doing. But it was the consistency of reaching out to those 210-40. So what happened and would happen.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I read something, or I'd seen one of Gary Vee's posts last week, and it was really talking about burnout and where most people reach burnout is that they get so fixated on the outcome that they don't fall in love with the process. They don't fall in love with the moment. They don't pay attention and stay in the present. And I mean, how, we're huge David Goggins fans, and, the endurance journey that I've been on over the last 5 years, and just paying attention to a lot of him and studying him. And, one of the things that he would always say would be, why people wash out of buds so fast is that they're fixated on the end of the journey, and they don't stay in the present moment.
Right.
And just even on the endurance side of things, what I've learned from him is that, don't think about that mile marker where the finish line is. Just stay in the present, stay in the moment, stay fixated on what's within your control right now.
Right.
And I think that's what exactly what you're saying, Andre, is there's so many, they see the outcome. They see you over 700. They see Hillsman about to hit 1,000. They see, you've got, Jay, number 6, number 7 in the entire company about to hit 10,000. And they're like, oh, how can I get there? How can I get there tomorrow? And it's like, well, do you realize all of the effort and energy that has gone in on a consistent basis to get to where they're at? And you look at the guys in the top 10 for EXP on the organization, and you go look at on average, and Andre, this, on average, 2 a month. Yeah. 2 a month. And it's like, when you break it down to the bite-sized chunks, that becomes more, I can get my head around that.
Right.
Can you get your head around 2 a month? Or do you get fixated on 10,000? Do you get fixated on 1,000? Do you get fixated on 700? And that tends to lead to, becoming paralyzed, because you're like, well, how am I going to do that? You're going to do that by the 2 a month, the 210-40 that you shared, that example.
That's exactly right. And, and the two calls a day, or the two appointments a day, my first year, it only really averaged out to 1 a month. One person joined a month. I mean, I only had 3 people that joined EXP within the first, I think, 6 months. I had 1 in 3 months and 3 in 6 months. But by the end of the year, I had 13 personal. Yeah. So that's not setting the world on fire, but I just knew what Jay and Mike and Al and the guys that had paved the road and where they were at and how they got there was just being consistent. So by the end of the second year, I was really at I did get 2 a month that second year. Just got some momentum going. But by the end of the first year, I had 13 personal, looking at my wealth chart, and 37 total. So only had 37 total organization in that first 12 months. Only made $708, I think it was, in my first 7 months of EXP.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
Because
right?
it takes time. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I was working, full time, making a salary to pay the bills until I knew we could get this rolling. But being consistent, by the end of the year 2, I had 35 personal and 281 total. So that was a pretty good jump.
It's a great jump.
And you can see that what's happening. And at the end of the second year, of course, I was doing well enough that I was able to, start working full time for myself and not do the ISA stuff. So it's only been a year in February. That it's been full 3 years, but that 281 jumped to 669 as of February 1.
Congratulations.
And even just from February 1 till today is 715.
Oh, that's so awesome. Congratulations on that. It is. It's it definitely, it's one of those things that if you stay consistent, then the results is going to be there. So what we've been kind of chatting about, Andre, and I think I would love for you to kind of unpack your perspective on this, is going back to the mindset, going back to kind of where you need to be mentally approaching this throughout the first 12 months, through the next 12 months, into the next 12 months. Where do you need to be at mentally in really kind of the thought process that you went through and that I know you coach, because really for this to work, it has to be duplicatable. Right. Now don't get me wrong. Can you build an empire and build a fantastic, powerful front line? Of course you can. But a lot of the things that we've seen are not as easily to duplicate as for some, right? Are we doing things that are duplicatable? So for you, mindset wise, what was it for you through the first 12, the next 12, and then, kind of now you're on your own, you're not working part-time. This is a full-time gig for you. Was there any change from the mindset perspective throughout that journey over the last 36 months?
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, you're all focused on yourself and getting your first 5 people, first 10 people. So you can get get some things moving. But as soon as you get to that first 5 or 10, well, now you have people that you got to help. So you gotta start helping your business partners. And that's what really thrills me, is when you start changing, some of your business partners' lives, and they get the extra $500, extra $1,000 per month because of what you've done to help them accomplish now. Now, some people, you get a couple of leaders. We all have, a handful of leaders that just go gusto and start building your organization. And that gets really fun when you start seeing that happen. Because, that 700, I mean, again, I've only personally, I'm at around 40 frontline agents now. But it's all the people that are in that, in your group that you're helping, and you start seeing their lives start changing. That's what really energized me. But as far as mindset, it really hasn't changed a whole lot. It's just being consistent on what you're good at and what you're going to do. You're like, I'm not really good at too much social media. I'm getting better at it and starting to do podcasts and starting to do stuff because I'm following you guys. I'm watching what you guys are doing. So I'm trying to do exactly what the leaders above me are doing. But when I got into EXP, I never even did a Facebook Live in my life, right? Yeah. But what I was good at and I could be consistent was making the phone calls. I could call 2 people a day, have a conversation, show them a video, get on a Zoom, and then get them on a 3-way call or a Zoom with with my senior business partners. That's very duplicatable for anybody. Now, other people are huge with social media and doing live events, and we do some of that, and we're getting better at that. But my biggest mindset was do what you're good at, do it every single day, and know it's a long-term goal. I had a 5-year goal to have 500 people in my organization. And I figured if I could call 2 a day, 5 days a week, have 1 or 2 a month that would join. And then you get a couple of leaders within 5 years. I think that's very doable. That would happen. And we actually did it in 2.5 because because just the way this works.
Yeah.
But the average person in 7 months only had brought in 3 agents personally and only made $700. They're like, I'm out, right? But you got to have that 5-year goal, because we're going to we overestimate what we can do in our first 3, 6, 12 months, but we underestimate what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years.
So I think this is a great point right here. And you look at people and they're like, well, 700 in 7 months, like I can go, in 7 minutes and close a transaction and make, 10 times, 15 times that amount. How did for you, and then also, advice and coaching somebody through this, to have the patience and really the courage, really what it comes down to, right? The courage to stay in the fight, the courage to stay with the process. What was it for you that gave you that inspiration, that drive to keep doing what you're doing?
Well, I mean, I've always wanted to be successful in real estate. I worked when I got my real estate license, the same month, the same year, I was 22 years old. I knew I was going to take a while to make any income selling real estate, being brand new. So I actually worked a full-time blue-collar job at a pharmaceutical plant where my mom and my father-in-law both retired from. And I did both those full-time jobs. I worked from 4 in the afternoon until midnight at the plant, but it gave me all day from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 in the afternoon to sell real estate. And I did both consistently. And it was for 9 years. I did 2 jobs for 9 years. I was in my 20s, so you could do it. But I knew with the real estate game and being, entrepreneurial minded, that you could have your own business, basically, even if you're not the broker owner, but you could have your own business within the business. You could, build something. And if you're working for someone, you're building their legacy, not yours. And I always had the mindset that we could really build something, and we proved it doing our, selling our working our real estate business. But to answer your question with, how do you inspire other people to kind of stay in the game? I just kind of remind them, especially if they've been a real estate agent for, a few years or 5 or 10 years, it's like, how good were you on your first listing appointment? How much money and how many deals did you do in your first year, first 6 months? Now, some people really do a great job and blow it out of the water. I sold 7 properties my first year, and I worked my butt off, right? And then it was like 15 the second year. It took me 7 years to get to 40 transactions. But when I got coaching in that 7th year, got into coaching, and I did half of what my coach told me to do. But you're working with people that are at a higher level, and they're at where you want to be, and starting to just get coached and be open-minded. I went from 40 deals to 79 my first year with coaching, and then 109 my second year. So I just use that same principle of calling for sale by owners, calling expires. I would have 3 closings in a day, and have, my 25 or 50 phone calls that I had to make. And I'd be happier if I got that, my list of calls done more than the 3 closings I just had, because the 3 closings are done and over with. It's gone. But the 50 calls, those lead calls, if I got all those calls done, doesn't matter if you had an appointment or not. It's the follow-up, it's the consistency. I knew by making your calls, you're going to hit your goals by the end of the year as far as having those sales. And it's the same exact thing with the agent attraction game, or business really, it's a consistency, and since the follow-up. I had a guy husband and wife team from Denver, from the day I called them to the day they actually transferred a license and joined was 2 years and 1 day. And he liked what we share with them, but it's all about timing, and it's all about, being ready, and everything's got to line up. My fastest person came over. It was Brian from California. He came over in 7 days. He had his own independent company and shut it down. It was just him and his son, so it was small, but he saw it and he came over within 7 days. but the average is normally weeks or months, right? And the bigger they are, the longer it takes. So it's that follow-up game. I followed listings, for years before they actually were ready to list. From when you heard that they're probably going to be thinking of moving in a year or two or three, and the time they actually do it, it's sometimes years, right? But it's only a 5-minute phone call here, a written note there, just some intentional things of being followed up. And it's not any different than when you're talking to real estate agents. We're all human beings. We all want the same things in life. We want to do well. We want to provide for our family. And we just want to do well in life. And if in your heart, I knew when I was listing houses, there was no better person or team in my community that I felt that could do a better job for my clients. And when I did my listing presentation, I really shared what I believed, and we had great systems and process and a team in place that I would get, 99% of the listings. And it's the same thing with the agent attraction and building that part of the business. You're dealing with people that want to grow their real estate business, and we can help them do that. And we just have to be consistent of the follow-up, because you never know what's going on in their lives. How many people were ready, just on the edge, or ready to go, but something happened and they don't call you back. They just fall off the face of the earth. I mean, nothing. I mean, I had somebody that's like, I'm joining Friday. This is the best thing you've ever saw. And let's go. And Friday came and went. Still to this day, that was a year and a half ago. I reached out to that guy maybe 6-7 times in the last year and a half just to make sure, are you alive, man? And never heard from him again. Don't know what happened. But eventually, like Brent says, they're all coming, because there's just nothing bigger and better out there for a real estate agent. So
you said a couple things that I want to emphasize and maybe have you kind of share what that means to you. And you said that, finally you made the investment in coaching and then it clicked. And, Malcolm Gladwell has that concept or the theory, of the 10,000 hour rule. And, all of his study in the book Outliers, he talks about, to master anything, what he found is it takes about 10,000 hours. And Robert Greene, who wrote the 48 Laws of Power, the 50th Law, in Mastery, and a handful of other just incredible books, says there's only one thing that can challenge Malcolm's theory on the 10,000 hour rule. And he said that's coaching. He said coaching is the only thing that can accelerate mastery. And, he has, the concept of the apprentice and the master, and, the apprentice then becomes the master, and that apprentice is able to, get there faster than the master was, because through essentially mentorship, coaching, and training. So for you, what was it that finally clicked for you to get a coach, but then working with a coach that helped you kind of put things together a lot faster?
When I was doing 40 transactions a year all by myself with no help whatsoever, and working from 4 p.m. to midnight, it was just getting to be a lot, right? Got married and had a couple of kids in between that time as well. So at some point you figure out I can't do anymore. I cannot do any more by myself. My business partner heard about this coaching company. We ended up flying out there to go into a conference. Made a lot of sense. So we just jumped in and we put our efforts into this was 1998, using hotlines and postcards and all kinds of stuff. But you started marketing more, because before it was just hustling and calling and cold calling in the beginning, right? But you started marketing and doing what was working at that time. And then you just had more business than I could possibly handle. And without growing, and scaling and leveraging other people to build a team, there was no way you could do anything different. So my coach told me, at that time, to get an administrative person and a buyer agent. I should get both. And I was cheap back then. I wasn't entrepreneur minded really, I guess. So I got the buyer agent figuring, hey, I give them, do a 50-50 split and give her all my buyers, and I would just take care of the listings. And that's how I went from 40 to 79, because I focused more on sellers and she took care of the buyers. So I duplicated myself, right? And then the next year got the administrative person, which I should have done originally, actually even first, right? Yeah. And get rid of that $10, $15 an hour stuff and focus on the higher money making activities. But hey, sometimes we're slow learners, but I got her the second year, and the three of us were able to do the 109, and it just continued to grow. So I think it clicked when you just can't do anymore. And if you want to get you stay where you're at, or you find somebody that's doing where you want to be and copy what they're doing. And that's just exactly what we did.
Yeah. And two, I think a lot of us, especially, our age, to where our parents and our grandparents had, that hard work, DNA ingrained into us, was a bit of, where we felt for hard work is that we did it all ourselves, which I think, we're coming to understand that, hard work doesn't mean that you do everything yourself. You just do the things that you're the best in the world at yourself. Right. And what I see with you, and maybe you can kind of expand on this, you're super consistent with your activities. As for those of you that haven't watched the first Expert Mentors, you and I did, we talk really a lot about that, but you're also very disciplined. So there's the combination of both, being consistently disciplined. And that's something that not very many people have. There are people that can be consistent, and there's also people that can be disciplined, but very few are able to be consistently disciplined. And I think that's what has separated you. But plus, you understand hard work, and I think you also understand delayed gratification. And delayed gratification is one of the most important attributes and skills that we can embrace and develop for us to continue to move forward. And guys, you're in the real estate space. This is a delayed gratification business as it is. Right. It's the same concept, that you just don't jump in and sell 100 homes in your first year. It takes a little bit to build, and it's no different than building your organization, your agent attraction efforts. It's the discipline to the activities that drive the results and be consistent over time. And when I think of you, and they're like, hey, well, what's Andre's superpower? I think that's it. I think you're consistently disciplined to the process with a complete understanding of delayed gratification. And those are amazing attributes to build anything, like you said, that, is worth building, which takes time.
I appreciate that. I never even thought about it that way. I like that, consistently disciplined, and that's 100% true. I just a creature of habit. If I have a goal and I got a systematic plan to reach that goal, I know it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, and I just get in a habit to do the same thing every day, day in, day out. And I like it that way. It's just my personality, right? Yeah. I work late Monday and Tuesday nights. Wednesday night we have, church Bible study. Thursdays I go to my parents for dinner. And Friday's date night. Saturday, you never know what's going to happen with kids coming home or whatever. That's kind of open. And, Sunday's family day and church. And we just continue being consistent. I'm on my computer every day at 8:45, and I get up at 5 a.m. and spend, some time, some quiet time reading the Bible and spending some time with the Lord. And now, because of watching other guys like yourself and a lot of the other honey badgers, of being more consistent with their help and working out, my wife and I committed to a year at the gym. And so we're going to the gym, awesome. 5 days a week. Got a trainer, and we're at the gym at 6, home by 7 something, and on my computer by 8:45 to talk to my VA to get what's most important to get done today. And, my first Zoom's 9 or 10, depending on the schedule. And we just hit the calls, either making the phone calls or now this last year, I've only really been averaging, one person every other month for my first level, just because I'm spending so much time now. And that's not a good thing really, but it's what I want to do to help my team grow. And I got some leaders that are using me for 3-way calls and Zooms. And, just like I was always in Al's schedule, I got Rena's always in my schedule and a few other ones. And we're helping them start building their empire. And that really thrills me because, they're working hard and I know exactly what they're going through. And they talk to me about, man, this guy didn't show up, and they get discouraged sometimes. And I've been there and understand that really, really well. But when you get those no's and you get those people that blow you off or whatever, before in the beginning, you kind of get a little upset about it. But I get over that pretty quickly. I feel bad for them now. It's like when somebody's just not open, it's, man, I feel bad for that closed mind. Oh, well, I can't do any more than I'm going to do. I'll call them in another 3 months. Maybe their mindset will change, and on to the next phone call. And don't waste 5 minutes or 10 minutes kind of upset about how someone just treated you, because that next phone call may change someone's life. And we're seeing that happen every day. That keeps me motivated.
Yeah, I love that. And when you said, closed mind, it's something that we've always said that, it's like our minds are best like a parachute. They're best when they're open, right? And so, and making sure that not only is the parachute open, but making sure our minds are open to.
But how many people? I'm sorry, but how many people are now with EXP now in our group that their mind was closed first, right? Yeah. I mean, probably 90% of the people that we talked to the very first time they heard about it, their mind was closed. They wouldn't look at it. They were busy, whatever's going on in their life. And sometimes we take that personally, and you're like, all right, well, they're just not interested. And in the beginning, I didn't call back a lot of those people. I mean, people that I even met, showed them the video, but it wasn't for them. So it's like, okay, it's not for them. Check them off the box. But then a year later, you see them at the conference. Yeah. It's like, what happened? Well, something changed. So no just means, not right now. And just go on to the next person. And you just build a funnel of people that eventually you got so many people to follow up on. You can't follow up with them all. So you got to kind of prioritize them and just keep going forward. And the thing that really inspired me originally when I was working for J&L, when I first started working as an ISA, when I first, got started, at that point, so this would have been July, I think, June or July, 2019, they had 1,600 people in their group. And that's a pretty big group. That's twice as it was 1,200 or 1,600. Right? It could be 1,200, whatever. That's still 2-3 times the size of where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But even then, I knew and I knew how much they were earning per month, and it was more than I've ever made in my life per month. And I said, if I could do what they're doing, even 5 times slower, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
And now we know, like you said, they're almost going to hit 10,000.
I think it comes down to, a little bit, Andre, is it comes down to a belief. And, it's one of those things, right? Like if we're listening in here and I say, tell everybody is like, hey, Andre can fly. They'd be like, bullshit, Andre can't fly. Nobody can fly. But if you got up and flew around the room, they'd be like, oh my gosh, Andre can fly. Flying is possible. And I think that's just some of the things, right? We need to see what's possible with the people that we know, the people we trust, the people that we have belief in, because, there's so many fakes and phonies out there that, we see it, but we're like, man, that ain't true. There's something off there. But when you're in the day to day, you're in the mix, you're in the trenches and almost side by side, and you see, and what's possible, and you just know that they're just a little bit ahead of you. That's it. They're just a little bit ahead of you, and you're just going to keep following the path that they've laid. If you just stay disciplined to following the path, stay consistent, then it's just a matter of time. And those results will show up there for you. One thing that I'm curious on, you had mentioned that, 505 years, you did it in 2.5. Did you immediately reset the goal to say, okay, hey, we accomplished that in 2.5 years. We have to reset the goal to something bigger. Speak on that for us for just a minute.
Yeah, reset the goal as soon as we got close to the goal. You don't wait until you hit the goal. It's like, okay, we should hit the goal. We're going to hit the goal in the next couple of weeks or next couple of months, whatever it is. And then you're already starting to think about what the next goal is. That's just human nature. And that's the way that we should be thinking, right? Because at some point you're going to do well enough for yourself. It's like, okay, now what can I do to help other people? And that's what I want to do, man. I want to help other people. I want to help agents that are like me, and we're in the day-to-day, in the grind. And I know people even on my team that are in their 70s and they're still out selling houses, man. That's not where I want to be when I'm 70 years old, right? And I really feel that this whole business model with EXP, none of us have ever seen anything like it, to set us real estate agents up, really for life. Even if you don't do agent attraction, I mean, just with all the other ownership and the stocks and everything else, when people really understand that, we're changing lives. And that's what really gets me going, because I know once I can get in front of them, get their mind open when the time's right, we can change their life. And that's what gets me real excited. So as far as the goal is concerned, I want to help. I mean, I think by the end of next year, I'll be disappointed if we're not at least at 1,200. We should be at least 1,200. My goal is 1,500 by the end of this year, 2,500 by the next year, and 5,000 by the third. And awesome. we have been doubling. Some of the people in my team are doubling every 6 months. I'm more like doubling every year, give or take. To be honest with you, I don't keep track of the numbers as closely as I should. I just know if you do the daily things day in and day out, the numbers are going to come.
Yeah, 100%. So one of the biggest struggles that I've seen over, 4.5 years that we've been here is how do I allocate my time when my business is still dependent upon me closing transactions. And I get it. I want to do agent attraction, but I still have to close deals. How do I juggle time? And I've seen, agents, they try to go all in on agent attraction, and it's more of a delayed gratification. And then they get frustrated, and then they jump back into production. Their pipeline is kind of dried up. Now they got to almost restart the engine. How for you, from a time allocation, for you on this journey, but also you coaching your agents coming on board, of how to really allocate their time, weekly around doing a little bit of both.
Yeah. It's really all about time blocking and being consistent with your time blocking. I mean, in the beginning, everyone, the agent's just out showing houses and running around with their head cut off, building their real estate business. And they need to just continue doing that. But at first, it's just changing a few things, like, hey, when you're showing a buyer, 5 properties today, they're following you in the car behind you, and you go from one house to the next. You got 5 minutes, 10 minutes in between houses. They can be calling up that agent that the house they just listed and say, hey, just want to give you feedback. Give me a call back. If they don't answer, obviously, you get them to call you back, and you give them feedback on the property, what they like, what they didn't like. And then just get a little conversation with that client. Say, hey, it's maybe number 2 or 3 on their list. But I wanted to reach out to you because what they really need is X and X. Do you have any pocket listings or anything coming up in the next few weeks? Maybe we can put a deal together before it even hits the market, right? And you have a conversation with that person. And then before you hang up, hey, by the way, I've noticed, other properties you have, whatever is true. I've seen your marketing all over the place. You seem to be a great agent. I'm going to be working on something on a real estate project. I'd love to get your opinion. Maybe we can do something together. Will you be open for coffee? And let's get together. And then you're on to the next appointment. You didn't waste any time. You're in the car in between appointments, and you called an agent. And you got an appointment to do a coffee or or do a Zoom. There's your one for the day. It didn't take you any extra time.
Damn,
right?
that's great.
So
I
you
didn't
just,
even, yeah, that you could stack. It's habit stacking almost to the point, right? You're already
yeah,
doing an activity. You just stack another activity on
yeah,
top of it. So you're really, you were going to give them that feedback anyways. Let's go ahead and take it one step further and add an additional activity on top of it.
yeah, exactly. You just need to, fill your time. I mean, when I drive from my house to my parents' house, that's about 20 minutes. Now I call my schedule has changed a little bit, and I'm calling my kids at that time. But for the first couple of years, I was calling agents.
Yeah.
I was working 9 to 5, so I had to be making calls on the weekends and evenings or any other time I wasn't doing something. So any free time driving, I tell all my team members, get a one page, one subject notebook, start your top 100 list, name, phone number, and what state they're in. So you know what time zone they're in. And you should be calling those people at absolutely every time that you have a free moment. And if my kids or wife's in the car, I'm not doing it. But when I'm by myself, I'm always on the phone.
Yeah.
Calling new agents, calling my current team members. And it's just doing 2 or 3 things at once. Instead of being, listening to music and all that, I'm calling people.
It's what does Tony call it? Net time, no extra time.
Yeah.
And I know, Darren Hardy talks about it as well. And I remember when we were, full steam ahead with the brokerage in Dallas, and we had moved from Frisco, 9 miles down the tollway to Addison. And, those were miserable commutes because, for us to go 10 miles was an hour. And Alex Piak and I, when we were driving that brokerage and driving the growth of that brokerage, him and I would talk every morning. That was our hour. We talked about the business, what we need to be doing, strategizing, coaching him through certain scenarios and situations. And, he would be getting feedback. And so we utilized that time in the morning to really make sure we were strategically working through things. And then, like you said, I would use that time on the way home to reconnect with my loved ones. I would connect with my kiddos. I would connect with, my dad. I would connect with family. So instead of just jamming out to music, and of course, if we wrapped up conversations early, I would jump into an audiobook or something. But utilizing that net time for those key activities in your business, things that are to grow your business. So I love that idea. Hey, you've got to know who's on your hit list, right? You've got to know who's right there, and you need to be using that net time, boom, making those phone calls. And then I love that idea for you guys listening in. You're already going to have conversations with agents, and give them a call, right? Give them a call. And if they don't answer, give them a reason to call you back, and then have that conversation, and then talking about, hey, what else you have? What's going on? These are my clients. I'm trying to play matchmaker. And then, Andre, I think naturally it leads into, hey, I genuinely, love what you're doing. You're getting my attention. How's business? What are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals this year? And you can just naturally lead into those conversations, because what are we trying to find? We're trying to find their problem. We're trying to find the rock in their shoe.
Right.
Because we have so many solutions that can remove that constraint for them. So I think that's just fantastic from that regard. Let's kind of shift gears here, and I wanted you to kind of give your perspective on what I feel is so important, and it's the onboarding phase. One of our mentors early on. This was maybe before Glenn had even started EXP. This particular mentor, what he would say to us is that, agent retention, employee retention starts day one.
Right.
It doesn't start a year into, it doesn't start 6 months, it doesn't start 3 months. It starts the moment. And our team, we've really become obsessed with the experience people have with us, the experience they have with our brand, this experience they have with our team, the experience they have, with me. And you look at the agent attraction side of things, and I think there's a couple things there that really stand out. I really believe you have to be obsessed with their experience. And that's one of the things that can be duplicatable, because how you bring them on, how you attract them, is how they're going to bring people on,
Right.
how they're going to attract people. So let's talk a little bit about, because I know you've been obsessive about this as well, obsessed about the onboarding process. So let's kind of spend the last few minutes here that we're together on this episode of Expert Mentors, and let's really hone in and talk about the onboarding side of things.
All right, great. Yeah, in the beginning when I was by myself, you were just doing everything yourself, and you're calling everybody to, getting them onboarded and answering your questions and making sure they call you through the whole process. EXP does a pretty good job, as far as getting their license over and all that. But let's face it, they have 1,000 people a week coming over, right? And they just don't have the manpower to be there available for that person, for that first really 60 days. I think that you got to hold people's hand through that process, because, hey, they've made this big change. They've confided in you. They're moving over their business, and now there's all these things to do, right? And where do they start? And you guys did a great job, with Tracy being your onboarding person when I came on, and you can call her anytime, text. So we've done the same thing. I have my wife now. At first, I had a virtual assistant doing it, because that's where we started. And I trained my VA on how to onboard someone. And we started this group called AIM, AIM, Alpha in the Making. It's a Facebook group that you can join. And it just started off through the beta program.
Explain that real quick, Andre, what those mean. There's probably people listening into this or that will listen to this, and they might not understand, alpha or beta. Kind of explain what that is.
Well, the company put together some groups in the workplace. For beta is 250 agents or more, alpha is 1,000 or more, and then there's they changed it recently. Now it's builders are 5 agents or more, and leaders are, I think, 10 or more. So there's those 4 groups now, and if you have at least those 5, 10, 250 or 1,000 people in your group, you get you'll get an email from the company and get an invitation to join the workplace groups. So I was in the beta group with when I had just hit 250, and Hank Avik was in there, and he was at like 500 at the time. And he put it out there to the beta group is, hey, we got to make onboarding better for our people. Who's interested in getting, just a mastermind together of how to make onboarding better for our teams? And I almost didn't join the group, because I'm thinking, I just got into this and these guys are all doing twice as much as I'm doing. But it's like, hey, you got to stretch yourself to get to the next level. So there was, I don't know, 6 or 7 of us, 8 of us that joined. It was just a little mastermind. And somebody came up with the idea of let's see if we can build something out on Trello. I never even heard of Trello, didn't know what it was. But if you go to Trello.com, you can get a free Trello site. There was a couple people in there. Kira, she was just a whiz with all the techie stuff, and she built a lot of it out. And with everyone's help and contribution, we built out a checklist of every little tiny detail of someone from, when they come over, from their business cards to, you name it. There's a big long checklist, and we put that all together. And now I've been using it with my VA, and now my wife is my onboarding specialist on our team, and she does it with our people. So what happens? The VA will build this link, and I don't know all the techie stuff behind it. I know it takes them like 6-7 hours to build out this link. So all I do is forward a link to my prospect that they verbally committed. So yeah, I'm joining in a week, in a month, whatever. They verbally committed. We send them this link. They click on it. It opens up, and there's a couple of dozen questions about their real estate business, personal. We ask them for their Facebook stuff, a picture, and when they hit submit, it comes into my Trello board with all their information. And now we can use that to track them through the whole process. If you want to have me share my screen, I can kind of show you what mine looks like. And it's been phenomenal for us because once we get their information and now they're ready to onboard, we're calling them. We schedule a 45-minute-hour Zoom with them and their sponsor because we're teaching their sponsor how to do it as well.
Yeah.
We just go through the whole process. And then there's a 7-day follow-up, 14-day, 30, 60-day follow-up. And then once we checked all the boxes that they've done everything, if you get the automation, it's only like $119 for the year. If you buy the paid premium version of Trello, it's free to get started. I tell everyone, just get started with a free one. And it's easier if you only have 5 people, get started now, because as you build, it's going to be a lot easier to use this thing. And it's been a great onboarding tool. You want
That's
me to share?
fantastic. Yeah, let's share that real quick and kind of, just over a couple minutes here. Let's share and kind of walk people through that. And if you guys are listening to this and not able to see it,
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we've got your screen up. So Andre
right,
is just showing his Trello board that they have put together that really walks through and helps with the onboarding. So what are the pictures? Are those of the agents?
These are all the agents on my team. You see level 1 here. These are my team in level 1. There's Pierre, my rock star Pierre, my first Canadian that I brought over that hit 400 yesterday on his global team. But these are everyone on my first level. Okay.
How come you put a picture to it?
Oh, because when I see these people, the people that on your first level, you know who they are. But a couple of reasons, 2nd level through 7, a lot of these people you may not meet or talk to until you go to a conference. So it's face recognition is to remember people when you see them at conferences. But the other reason is we're going to use that for Facebook, right? When we announce them that they're joining, we're going to put a welcome them to the Facebook or welcome them to our group and launch something on Facebook to welcome them to the group, right?
Well, it personalizes it as well, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a name, you have a face, and it's that human, the human connection that we're able to make that I feel and I've seen is missing with a lot of the agent attraction efforts out there.
Yeah, and so on the left-hand side, I just clicked on the help center, and we basically have a lot of the stuff that we need from agent attraction, training and scripts and the wealth chart right here. If I open up the wealth chart, I can click on that link and it gives me the wealth chart, the video, this is the video that you guys did. You can put anything in here that you want. On the onboarding process per state, we just pulled this off of EXP Enterprise, right? We have all the states because everyone's a little bit different with their license changes and all that kind of stuff. That's all here at your fingertips. And you can add, these, onboarding tool links, the Sky Slope, the agent tools, all this stuff. You can just add another list right here and add whatever you want. But that's just a great tool to get things started.
I love it.
Oh, and this board, see, these are all the people on my board. So you're able to, when you start your own board, and if you're the leader and now you have a leader that they're going to start growing their business, you give them the Trello template for free. We just give everyone the template for free. They get it going. And then we can connect the boards together. So when my level 1, 2, 3 person that's building, when they send their link, and it's got to be a different link that's just for them with their questions, but they send it to their person and their prospect, and the prospect fills it out, then it's going to go into their board and automatically come into mine. So we can link them together. That's really cool. But all these things up on the top here, they're just different boards, like different campaigns. Rod's working on a list. That's just my virtual assistant. I ask him, hey, call this person, set up an appointment. He'll call them, schedule the appointment, a 15-minute phone call. And then once I talk to them, then I just move these people over, right? If I talk to this person and she says, yeah, I'm interested in having a Zoom with you, I just move them over here. And now she's on my list to doing a Zoom on whatever day that we scheduled, right? You talk to them, you show them the opportunity, and they're just dead. They're absolutely not interested. You don't even want to deal with them again because they're rude. They go to the dead list, right? After you talk to them, maybe they liked it, but it's just not really good time yet, right? They need more time, so they go on that list. Warm, they're warm, they're interested, but it's going to take some more time. I just kind of put whatever list that you want together, and you can change these up. But then, of course, you have your top 200 hot prospect list. And those are the people that you're going to be communicating with quite a bit. But what happens when it's just going through that process, right? And once somebody gets verbally committed, they're interested, and they fill out that link, they come into the verbally committed spot here. And then when they're ready to make application, then we click on the buttons. There's a checklist, right? So once you click on the checklist and you've filled out the first couple of things, if you have the automation version, it'll automatically move them over to the next list, to application, and then into onboarding. And once here, I'll open up one of these. Like, here's a 7-day. This guy we just onboarded like last week. Oops, sorry, I hit the wrong button. And that opens up a map. That's another cool thing that there's a map on here, so you can find out if you have a referral that you have to send somewhere. You can quickly look in your map and see where everybody's at, as long as they gave you their address when they filled out that form completely. But Abdul Kareem here, he's on my level 3. And his person that was my level 2 just brought him over. Neither one of them had brought anyone over before, so we just jumped in and say, hey, let us help you. And then my wife will, when we send them the information and they fill it out, we have their name, their email, their birthday, their phone number. We ask them about their physical address, some personal stuff about kids, that kind of thing, their anniversary, because we want to celebrate those things. We get their picture for Facebook, like I said. And then there's a checklist. We ask them what's the 3 most important things that they need help with immediately. So when I talk to people, I know, hey, you need help with leads, right? Then there's the application. Of course, he already made applications, so those are checked. When you check those 4 boxes, it automatically moves them over to the next list. We got their birthdays, and EXP anniversaries, that kind of stuff. But here's the onboarding checklist, right? And when Beth went through it, she went through step by step, explaining all this stuff about, did they do their EXP World tour yet? If not, let's walk them through that. Obviously, they signed the ICA at this point. They transferred their license. Did they we don't have it checked yet that he's done the KV core, set up his domain name.
Set up. Yeah, that's awesome.
When we talk to her next week, here's, did you get that set up? Okay, why not? Do you need help? Right? To get connected to NAEA. We will send it out. We checked it. Hey, we asked Holly to add him. Now, when we talk to him next week, hey, did you get it? Are you all set? No, I didn't get the email. Okay. So we just have a checklist for every little thing, so nothing's forgotten. And then you got 7-day, 14-day. Once I go through the 7-day and I click those boxes, then it's going to move over to the 14-day. And then there's a checklist for that. And then 30-day, 60-day. And by then we'll put them levels 1 through 7. And then on the right-hand side, I have level 8, 9, and 10. I'm not really doing anything yet, but hey, those people are in your business as well. So we'll probably start tracking some of that. People go on hold for some reason. People are on their way out for some reason. People that leave the team. But it's all here and available. So
if somebody sees this, Andre, and they're like, hey, I would, I would love to get that set up. What are some of the, how can they go about doing that and being able to connect with you?
Yeah. What I've been doing is we did all this for free for our team members. We'll give it to anybody at the Honey Badger. I can have my VA send you a link, John, that you can post, and it's just a template. So they'll take our template and then you make it your own. and we'll give that to anybody who wants it. As long as you're in Honey Badger Nation, let's do it. You can go on the AIM Facebook group, and you can go and see how we built it if you want to do all that. If you're techie, you'll be able to, in the template we give you, it tells you step-by-step how to do stuff. So you can, it might take you 8-10 hours, but if you follow the checks or give it to someone, they can get it all done and not cost you anything. But with all my team members that I've given this to, only 2 people actually set it up, because it just takes time and effort and tech, a little bit of tech skills. So what I've done is I've offered it to my team members, and I'll even offer it to any of the Honey Badgers, just to private message me here. I need your first name, last name, email, and phone number, and we'll set it up for you turnkey for $150, $150 US.
Steal.
That's just paying the time for my VAs to do it.
Yep.
You'll get your own link just for you with your questions, and then you can change it around if you want to after. But we'll give you all the basic stuff. But it'll be turnkey, and then you can just start adding your people in it. And it's simple. If you get the paid version, it's the premium version. It's $119 for the year. And for the first 5 people that you send that link to and they fill out the questions, there's no cost to that. But for that to continue going and to continue working as you grow your business, the first step is it's $6 a month that you're paying. I don't know if I guess it's Trello. I'm not sure exactly how it all works, but it's like $6 a month to have so many, called a form director. And that's when you can answer all those questions, and it'll automatically come into your board. All the automation is done. And then when you start getting hundreds of people in your organization, it might go up to $10 or $20 a month. But because you're sending out a lot of those invitations, as we were talking here, I saw 2 or 3 people on my Trello board that was on the other screen. I saw them pop in. So people are, filling them out, and they're automatically coming in.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty cool.
Cool. So if they want it, best way to message you, just message you. Where do you want them to go?
I would just say right through, because everyone it's not that I want to do all this and have my VAs, because I got them pretty busy, but I'm willing to do it. But for Honey Badgers, and that's who's watching this, right? So find me in the Honey Badger page, and just Andre LaFountain, and just private message me, name, phone number, email. My VAs will be watching that, and then they'll just reach out to you. They'll need your information to get into your Google Drive, I think, to make all that stuff work. And we'll set it all up for people, $150 US, and it'll be turnkey, and then you can kind of take it over from there.
Boom. I love it. Andre, man, thank you so much. Another must expert mentors to add to the agent attraction, library to really accelerate your agent attraction efforts. And, so I greatly appreciate you jumping in, adding a ton of value as always. For those of you listening in to this, you want to get that built out, reach out to Andre, and, at least if that's not a path you want to go down, just make sure you give Andre lots of love for jumping in, just pouring value into the Honey Badger Nation. And, just like I said, Andre, man, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And
it was my pleasure.
We'll definitely have you back on in the future, and appreciate you guys. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
All right. Very good. Thanks, John. Appreciate you.
We'll see you. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.